Okay, I think I'm live. Hi everyone, welcome to another one of our LinkedIn live events. Today's topic is going to be overthinking. We were supposed to go live last time, but my internet betrayed me, so I could not. In case my video and audio is not clear, please let me know. I'll just quickly check. Okay, yeah, I think it's fine. All right. So, for those who are attending this live for the very first time, how we go about this is that I'm going to discuss a topic in depth. You can ask me as many questions as you want in the middle of it, or you can ask me at the end of it. And in case you have to leave the live event for any reason in the middle whatsoever, you can simply watch the recording of it on YouTube. And of course, if you are not a part of my free communities where we do free group coaching, I share a lot of resources on a daily basis, free audio coachings, and also offers that I never ever roll out in public on LinkedIn. You can be a part of my free community called the Safe Space. You will find all the free resources in the feature section of my profile. So go check it out. It's the first pinned post. Okay, let's begin. Okay, let's hope that today I'm clear. All right, so we are going to discuss about overthinking today. Before I discuss it with you myself, if you are watching this as a recording, please pause this recording for a moment and I want you to write down the definition of overthinking. Now, overthinking essentially, as a pretty self explanatory word, means that there is something that's going on which is in excess, right? Overthinking means that you're thinking, the way you are thinking is not normal, not productive, not something that's helping you. It's in excessive, right? And anything in excess is not something that helps you. So what we understand about overthinking from the term itself is that it is working against you, it is not working for you, right? Yet overthinking tends to be something that a lot of people tend to reach out the most in this attempt that this is going to help me, or this is going to insulate me from any danger or any failure that might happen to me, or basically sometimes overthinking is also confused with preparation. A lot of people tend to think that I'm preparing myself, like I'm bracing myself for some impact, but in reality it is working against you, because when anything crosses a certain degree, a certain amount, then it is an excess, and anything in excess is going to be dangerous for you, right? So overthinking is basically thinking that is not working for you, it is working against you. Now, before we go into what it means and how we can overcome it, let's first understand in what ways can overthinking present itself. Because see, sometimes, as I told you, a lot of overthinkers also tend to think that we are critical thinkers, or we are logical, or we are just so careful. I've met a lot of people who tend to think, um who are not careful, they're just very conservative, and they tend to think that, oh, I'm very careful. And I've also seen people who are downright pessimistic, very very afraid of taking any chances, or very very afraid of going out there, and they tend to think that I'm playing safe or I'm thinking things through. So sometimes overthinking may present itself as a very constructive solution that you are subconsciously or consciously practicing, but in reality, again, it's not really doing anything, right? So I'm going to talk about a few things. Again, it does not mean that these are the only symptoms that signals overthinking. There can be many, but it becomes more apparent when you're having a one-on-one session. So if you see yourself relating with more than one, again, there is no need to get intimidated. It just means that overthinking is showing up in your life in these ways, and if you're curious about in what ways it could be showing up in your life, you can always have a private conversation with me by booking a coaching session. Okay, let's get started. I'll just again check if I am sounding fine. Okay, yes, thank god it's okay today. All right. So the first way overthinking may present itself is catastrophizing. So what is catastrophizing? Catastrophizing is basically going from 1 to 100 in terms of what can go wrong, right? It comes from the word catastrophe, right? Catastrophe basically means something very extreme has happened, something really bad has happened, right? And it basically signals the intensity of it. So catastrophizing is when you start to think about the worst things that can happen to you, or that may happen to you, and basically it's going round and round in your head, right? Now, a lot of people tend to think that when they're thinking about the worst case scenarios, they are preparing and that this is going to help them, or this is going to make sure that they're being practical. But how you really differentiate between practical thinking and catastrophizing is that practical thinking stops the moment a solution is given, or the moment you come up with a solution. Catastrophizing does not stop it there, right? For example, let's say that I decide that I want to go have pizza, okay? And I'm going to a pretty popular place. Now, my practical thinking brain is telling me that, you know what, Rianchi, it's a pretty crowded place because it's a pretty famous place. So, why don't we go and book a table? And also because it's a pretty far place, it would be nicer that I book a table so I don't have to wait. So, the moment I book the table, the thinking ends there. But let's say that I am somebody who's an overthinker and I have a habit of catastrophizing. So I come up with things like, okay, you know what? Maybe I will not get a table despite booking. What will I do if I don't get a table despite booking? Where will I go? How will I pass my time? What if, I go all the way and it's a waste of time? So I keep on creating imaginary scenarios in my head that keeps on making me feel that it's just better to not do this at all. That's catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is absolutely thinking the worst thing possible. That, you know what, maybe I go to that pizza place and they just refuse to let me in. Or they just tell me that, no, your reservation is cancelled, or something, this happens, that happens. That's catastrophization. Now, this is at a very small level. It could be happening at a very big level. For example, something that I've commonly seen with my clients is that whenever they're going after something new in their career, there's a lot of fear around, this can go wrong, that can go wrong. Even though they're very capable, they're very prepared, they've thought of every solution that they can deploy in different circumstances, but the thinking still goes on. That is catastrophizing, and that is a sign of overthinking. That is not a sign of practical thinking. Any practical thinking stops at the moment you come up with an alternate solution. But if it does not stop, then it is catastrophizing. That's first way overthinking shows up. Second is when there is a constant chatter in your head. Like even when you're sitting and you just decide that I'm just going to relax. This is constant chatter. It could be an inner critic, you know, and a voice that keeps on criticizing you. Why are you resting? Why are you slowing down? You have to do so much. Or it could be, ruminating, like coming up with what happened in the past and thinking about this went wrong, that went wrong, or feeling anxious about the future. So there's this constant chatter that is always there. There's not a moment in time where you can just say that I'm fully present in the moment, right? So when fully present in the moment is not happening with you, it means that the constant chatter is overthinking, right? Because see, essentially thinking is supposed to help you. Thinking is supposed to help you come up with solutions to the existing problems that you're solving on a day-to-day basis. Overthinking is when you create problems that neither exist nor require solving. So when there's a constant chatter, it means that it is a sign of overthinking. Next is rumination. So rumination is when you consistently obsess over what happened in the past, right? Again, it has no relation to what is happening to you right now, nor is the problem coming and knocking on your door right now. But there's this constant rumination. Like in Hindi we say, "Kash ye ho jata," that kash syndrome, right? Kash this, kash that. I wish this happened. I wish that happened. So there's this constant rumination, and when when you're consistently ruminating, obviously you're not doing anything in the present, right? You're just time traveling back to the past, making yourself feel bad, reliving the same things. Again, a sign of overthinking, right? Next is when you experience decision fatigue. Now, this is a very not a very obvious sign. So decision fatigue is what? Decision fatigue is when you are not able to make a decision quickly, okay? Or if not quickly, I would say um, in a appropriate amount of time. For example, let's say that I decide that I want to do a live event for all of you. Okay. Now that is a decision I have to make. Now it should not ideally take me more than 30 minutes to decide what time I would like to do the live event on, what topic would I like to do live event on, right? Because it's a pretty basic thing. But I'm spending days on it. I'm spending days. Should I do this at that time? No, this time is not good enough. Should I be wearing this? No, this is not good enough. Will somebody be interested in this topic? Let me come up with something else, right? So I'm not able to make a decision about something as small as doing a live event. So when you are constantly fatigued by decisions, right? Like whenever you have to take a decision, your body anticipates that, oh my god, now I'm going to be very tired, right? Or you are consistently an indecisive person. You're not able to make a decision. You're not able to say that this is something that I want and this is something that I'm going to do. And a lot of people think that I'm researching, I'm being practical, I am, being patient with my decisions. No, you are not. Okay, it's very important to understand that every decision should be given a certain amount of time frame, beyond which you are wasting your time, because there is a finite amount of time you get in your life, right? So you have to start asking, what amount of time am I dedicating to certain quality of decisions? For example, if I take 7 days to decide whether I can do a live event or not, it's me wasting my life, right? Because it should, 7 days is a very long amount of time to decide something that small. There are far bigger decisions in life that will require you to be decisive. So if you're consistently decision fatigued, right, not able to decide on one thing, always, either asking other people's opinion, constantly researching, you're not being practical, you're not being research oriented, you're not being an adult. Okay, it is just a very clever way. Your overthinking tells you that we are preparing. This is not preparation. Preparation will not fatigue you. Okay, when you are fatigued in the process, it means that it's not preparation, it's decision fatigue. You're not able to come to a decision. That is also a very clever way overthinking shows up. Next is over rationalization. Now this is also something I love because I've seen a lot of people do this. So sometimes I tend to get clients in my consultation calls, who tend to tell me, uh, Rianshi, I know what I'm feeling. I also know why I'm feeling this because I've been reading your content. uh, and I know this, I know that. So my natural question is always that that's great. So what do you want us to do now? And then tell me that I'm still not able to stop. And that is when I tend to tell people, who are sitting across me in my coaching sessions and in general, that this is rationalizing your feelings, right? You are trying to rationalize everything, and you cannot think your way out of a feeling problem, right? It's a feeling problem. Similarly, when you try to rationalize almost everything in life, right, you don't want to feel it because it feels too big, so you just keep on overthinking your way out of it. You think that if I can intellectualize it enough, I will not have to feel it. So anything that is happening, you rationalize it, you intellectualize it, and it feels smart, right? It feels good, it feels smart that yes, I'm doing the right thing. But the parameter of whether what I'm doing is working for me or not is that whether the problem has gone away. So for example, let's say that that you are dealing with unhealed childhood trauma around your money. Okay, like you have money blocks, that. Now you know why they exist, you know that they exist, but the parameter is, have they gone? If they have not gone, then you just intellectualized your feelings, like you understand everything, and that's good. That's a diagnostic approach, but it does not mean that that particular problem is gone. So rationalization is when you keep on rationalizing everything in life, right? You don't want to accept that, okay, this is a problem, and this is where this is something that makes me feel this way, and this is where I'm going to need help. Rationalization kind of makes you feel smart. So that's another way overthinking shows up. Okay, just give me a moment. I will check if my internet is still working fine. Okay, yes. I am so terrified that it's going to go off the way it happened a couple of days ago, and I could not come live at all. All right. Now, an extension of over rationalization, as I was talking about, is intellectualizing your feelings, right? Intellectualizing your feelings is again is means that I know the logic of feelings, right? Like I know the logical reasoning, and I can logically reason with it. And again, right, it is a very great defense mechanism because feeling things makes you vulnerable. No, feeling things makes you a bit vulnerable to the person you have feelings for or the situation you have feelings for. So because a lot of people don't have that inner safety where they feel safe enough to feel, they intellectualize it. For example, let's say if it is death. Okay, now when you think about, let's say, the death of your loved one, it's a pretty heavy thing, right? It's a pretty big thing, and of course that is going to bring up grief, that is going to bring up really uncomfortable emotions. Realizing that somebody has permanently kind of left you is a pretty heavy feeling to deal with. So one way is to actually acknowledge your feelings, acknowledge your grief. Another is to intellectualize it. Oh, this is the truth of life, or this is how it happens. We can't feel sad over this, and it sounds smart, right? It sounds so intellectual. It sounds so enlightening that this person is so enlightened, but often usually people like these do not really want to come face to face with the discomfort of feelings, right? So they end up intellectualizing things, which does not help, right? Because when that particular thing may happen, you will experience the grief. You just don't want to feel it, right? You want to intellectualize it. And intellectualizing is like creating a wall around me and pretending that no, I have this wall around me, so now nothing can penetrate me. But that is not how it happens, right? In fact, it makes it even harder for you to deal with something like something, that you are building a wall against. For example, if it is grief. So when you just rationalize and intellectualize, it does not help. It just is another way of overthinking, right? Now, let's talk about why do we overthink? Because we cannot solve a problem that we do not understand and whose origin we do not understand. Okay, I'm going to check again if you're doing fine. Okay, yes, I think we're doing fine. Let's talk about why do we overthink. So, overthinking is not a problem, it's a symptom. Okay, overthinking is a band aid, it is a solution. It is not actually a problem. Overthinking is a solution to a much deeper problem, right? And what is a deeper problem? That deeper problem is you feeling unsafe in your body. Now, what do I mean by unsafe? So unsafety comes from stored trauma in your body. Okay, trauma is something that forms in your body when you felt unsafe, psychologically unsafe, or mentally unsafe, or physically unsafe, or emotionally unsafe, or a combination of all of these. And the wound that formed because of that non-safety, which was not taken care of, which was not tended to, turns into trauma. If you would like to understand the world of trauma work even more, you want to understand what childhood traumas you are carrying and how it is affecting your money, relationship, career, then I did a wonderful boot camp called Healing Childhood Trauma. You can find that in my pinned section. Or you can just DM me at City, and I would love to share that free resource with you. It's a wonderful class. You'll get a lot of idea about what is affecting you and the depth of it. So when you feel unsafe in your body, okay, that is when trauma happens. And overthinking is technically a coping mechanism that you pick up very early on in childhood, because again, right, when you're a child, you do not know how to deal with that. For example, let's say that you have a habit of overthinking about money. Okay, you feel very anxious around it. You, like, whenever you think of, let's say, the economy not doing well, or you not being able to get your promotion, or um, investments, like whenever you think about money, there's a sudden anxiety comes up and you start overthinking, right? So have you ever wondered why? Like, why is overthinking my default mechanism? Because it's a coping mechanism. It is not a problem. Overthinking is a solution to a much deeper problem that most people don't talk about, because we are used to, putting band-aid over a fracture. Overthinking is the band-aid that you try to put on a fracture that is very deep and very painful, and that is unhealed childhood trauma. So when you look at your childhood, you will probably find that I saw my parents fighting about money. I saw my father go through financial scarcity. I saw my mother feel very restrained because she did not have money, or I saw fighting in my family regarding money. So my first experience with money was very fear driven, right? So when you are a child, you don't know how to deal with something so complex. So as a child, what you do is that you come up with a coping mechanism, right? And usually overthinking tends to be the quickest coping mechanism. People pick it up, right? So now whenever you think about money or you see somebody talking about money, anxiety comes up and you start overthinking. How can I make more money? When will I make more money? I don't know if I'll ever be able to make more money, and stuff like that. So overthinking is just a solution for you, because the moment that particular topic money is coming up, and here is just an example, it could be anything for you, your body starts to feel unsafe. Why? Because there is stored trauma, and trauma is stored in the body. You cannot, and I repeat myself, you cannot think your way out of unhealed trauma. The only way to heal childhood trauma is to go through trauma healing. And that only happens in trauma informed coaching sessions. Okay? You cannot talk your way out of trauma. So, coming back, when somebody talks about money, that non safety comes up, because that trauma that lives in your body, it is being experienced by every younger version of you, your inner children, right? Your inner children are nothing but younger versions of you that always exist. For example, let's say if you are 26 years old, right? So your 1 year old version, 2 year old version, 5 year old version, all these versions of you exist inside of you. So I've explained this very beautifully inside the Healing Childhood Trauma Bootcamp about what is an inner child. So you can go watch that if you're probably hearing this for the very first time in your life. So when the topic of money may come up, let's say your friends are talking about, oh, have you done this investment and stuff like that. You see yourself getting anxious. You see yourself that those feeling of tightness is coming up, constriction is coming up, and you just want to do something. Yeah, either you want to distract yourself or you just start overthinking, right? Because there is a younger version of you, there is an inner child that lives within you that has started hyperventilating, that has started thinking, oh my god, what do I do, what do I do? So overthinking feels like a quick coping mechanism, that if maybe I can think a lot about this, I will be able to feel better. But that does not happen, because your feelings around money is something that you cannot think your way out of. You have to heal it. You have to heal your relationship with it, which happens in systemic healing sessions, which is something that I also do with my clients. So overthinking is a coping mechanism that you picked up because you did not have any choice. Nobody, an adult was not there to regulate your emotions for you, right? So that is how trauma is formed, and that is why overthinking becomes a coping mechanism to cope with the pain of that trauma. And that this particular thing can happen with anything. For example, let's say that conversations about let's say death makes you uncomfortable. Okay, conversation about death, conversation about somebody dying or long term illnesses makes you really uncomfortable. So look at your history, look at your childhood. What happened there that made your relationship with the concept of death really, really hurtful? What about it makes you feel anxious? What about it makes you feel like I don't want to think about it, or else I will start reeling into overthinking, right? Similarly, it could be anything, right? It could be romantic relationship, maybe you overthink that. Maybe it could be about your parents, maybe it could be about money or career, whatever it is. Whatever you're overthinking about, there is a unhealed trauma that is there, that is currently existing in your body. That is why overthinking happens about that very specific topic. So this needs to heal. This needs to be something that you heal. This needs to be something that you do one-on-one inner work with, right? It is not something that you can put a band-aid over or think your way out of. Overthinking convinces you that if I can think a lot about it, somehow it will go away, but it is not, because it's a completely different problem. It's like, I am hungry for food and I keep on drinking water hoping that I will somehow get the energy and whatever nutrients I need to survive the day. No, I will not. I may feel temporarily full because I drank a lot of water, but I will start to get weak over time because I'm not having food. That's the thing with overthinking. You feel so fatigued after a point that you think that, okay, now I'm not going to feel this way, but it doesn't go away. And any overthinker who's watching this right now can attest to that, that it is not something that goes away. A lot of my clients used to feel that way until we worked together, because we actually worked on the root cause. So stop blaming overthinking. Okay, overthinking was a coping mechanism that you picked up. It is how you feel you are in control, because there has been a past memory there where you felt very helpless, very out of control. So overthinking feels like, okay, I have control now. I can control the outcome here, right? Now, next is, it can also form when you experienced or when you were made to feel unsafe, as I told you about trauma. Now, trauma can be of many kind, right? One could be physical trauma. For example, let's say you saw somebody getting into an accident. So now you, every time you think about driving a car, you feel very, very unsafe. It could be mental trauma, where whenever maybe growing up, you were criticized a lot and you were made to feel really bad about yourself. So now if you get any kind of, like, if somebody gives you any kind of constructive feedback, also it makes you feel bad about yourself. It could be emotional trauma, right? It could come from, let's say, your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your siblings, or let's say if any bullying you went through. It could be um, it could be the fact that the kind of experiences that you experienced growing up in your household has led to made you feel so unsafe that overthinking was a coping mechanism that you picked up. So what could be such experiences? One is you saw a lot of conflict, right? When you see a lot of conflict as a child, you tend to feel unsafe, but you don't know what to do about it, because, like, let's say your parents are fighting and you're sitting in the living room, you can't do anything, right? As a child, you don't know what to do to protect yourself from there. So that can bring up a lot of overthinking and anxiety when you see, let's say, conflicts growing up, or you may feel that if somebody is upset with me, something really bad is happening, or that I should never make anyone upset. Or let's say if you experienced a lot of judgment, right? The people judged you a lot, maybe your parents judged you a lot, or maybe you experienced bullying a lot, so that made you an overthinker. It could be criticism. If you were criticized a lot growing up, that made you an overthinker. Or it could be rejection or shame. You were rejected, right? Either directly or indirectly by people, either your own family or your friends, or again, experiences like bullying. So that can also lead to overthinking. And it can also lead to feelings of shame, strong feelings of shame. That can also turn you into an overthinking, right? So overthinking is nothing but a way you want to gain control over an emotion that you have felt helpless about. I'll repeat myself again. Overthinking is nothing but a way to gain control over a feeling that you felt very helpless about in the past. So that's an unhealed inner child within you that keeps on telling you, we have to do something about this because I can't go through this again. So you pick up overthinking as a coping mechanism, right? Of course, it does not solve anything. It does more damage than it does good, but that is how you deal with it because you haven't healed it yet, right? And that's the thing. Like when we do deep inner work, right? Whenever I'm doing childhood trauma healing work with my clients, I always tell them that this is you becoming the parent to younger versions of you that you deserve. It's basically reparenting. It's you healing every wound of your inner child and letting their inner child know that you are going to protect him or her. That is when trauma truly dissolves, right? When we do systemic healing sessions. So right now you keep on reaching to overthinking because you are still operating from that younger version of you. Like logically, you know overthinking is not helping, but you're not able to stop because, again, right? You don't know how to, because the pain is much stronger than the safety inside of you, the trust within you and the trust within you and younger versions of you. And that is why overthinking feels so difficult to stop. It is truly not because you don't know. It is not that you're not smart enough. Honestly, there is nothing anybody can tell you that you have not thought of as an overthinker, you know? But that is the thing, no? You cannot think your way out of a wound. No matter how many bandages you put on a fracture, it requires a completely different treatment. Now, let's talk about what does overthinking really do, right? If it's not helping us, what is it really doing? Okay, before I move forward, I will check if we have any questions or I've gone offline or not. Okay, I think not. Okay. Now, let's talk about what does overthinking end up doing. The first thing is it is a huge waste of time. Right? Huge waste of time. See, when you keep on replaying conversations in your head, when you keep on replaying a scenario in your head, this will happen, that will happen. You are either thinking about the past, that I could have been this way, I could have been that way, or you're thinking about the future. There's anxiety about the future. I will do this if this happens, I will do that if that happens. In both the cases, what are you doing? You're trying to gain control. Why? Because there is a version of you that feels helpless, that feels out of control. And it is a huge waste of time because you're not living in the present. You're thinking about a memory that is gone, or you're thinking about a memory that you wish to create that has not happened yet. You're not actually living life, right? You're just time traveling either to the past or to the future. So it is a huge waste of time. You end up wasting your resources, your time, your potential, thinking about things that are either never going to happen or have already happened, and we can't really do anything about it. So overthinking does not make you smart. It does not mean you're practical. It is just a waste of time, right? The second thing that tends to happen is it leads to a lot of missed opportunities, and this is something that I've seen a lot, especially when you are ambitious as a person. You will see that opportunities that you're very capable of, right? Opportunities that you would kill at, you don't take that up because you just end up wasting time overthinking about it. So the opportunity then goes away because you have to understand that opportunities are things that you capitalize on at the right place and at the right time. They don't always stay. And the person who's ready to take that opportunity is the one who ends up capitalizing on it. So you can only capitalize on opportunities in life when you're ready. And overthinking makes you believe that you're not ready. And that is why missed opportunities happen. The people that you see who end up, like capitalizing on an opportunity and that becomes huge, they're not special people. They're just ready to capitalize. They're just ready for it. And that readiness means that they are not overthinking about it. It does not mean that they have more potential than you. It does not mean that they have more talent than you. I know incredibly talented people. I've worked with people from Fortune 500 companies and I've seen them do that again and again, because overthinking makes you believe you're not ready. So it leads to missed opportunities. Next is it kind of lowers your risk taking ability. Because you're constantly overthinking, you think that your risk taking ability is far lower than what it actually is. For example, let's say if you are somebody who's in your late 20s or your early 30s, you should be working on yourself. Your inner work should be your absolute utmost priority, because that gives you an edge over everyone else. Because you have to understand, everybody is everybody is educated these days. Everybody is working on their communication skills and all of that stuff. People who gain an edge are people who work on their unhealed traumas as well as their mindset. These are the people who have edge, because they're not wasting time overthinking. They're not wasting time ruminating, right? They're not wasting time thinking whether I'll be ready or not. But when you're overthinking, it makes you believe that you're not ready for a lot of things. So your risk taking ability dramatically goes down. And you can only take as much chances as your risk taking ability. If you believe that I can take a risk, you will take it. And if you believe that no, I can't take it, you will not take it. So when your risk taking ability shrinks, your surface area of luck also shrinks. People who are incredibly lucky are also people who are incredible risk takers. And the reason they're risk takers is because they feel safe to do that. And overthinking makes you feel unsafe from inside. It makes you believe that no, I can't take the risk. I'm not capable, or I won't be able to handle it, even though you have the time, energy, and the resources to handle it. And that is why overthinking becomes a very big problem over time if it's not worked on. Next is it leads to pessimism and lack of confidence, right? And there is no basis for it. You are capable, you are a hardworking person. I honestly have not met a single overthinker who was not a hard worker. Never. In fact, I've seen them work hard at things that didn't really require hard work. So it turns you into a pessimistic person. And the thing with being a pessimist is that you don't go very far in life with pessimism, because when you're pessimistic, what signal you're basically giving to your body is that it is not safe. And your body will never ever ever allow you to do something where it does not feel safe. For example, let's say there's a side hustle you want to start, and you're a pessimistic person and you lack confidence. You will convince yourself out of it. You will convince yourself that it's not going to work. We will not be, who will buy from us, or it's not for us, we don't have the business team. You will shut it down. Whereas somebody who's not pessimistic, they will capitalize on the idea, they will stay with it, and that is how they will find success. you know so it's not that people are very different in terms of capabilities. People are different in terms of how their internal safety is. Somebody who feels internally safe is somebody who's going to approach anything that comes their way. So basically, they are trying 100 times, you're trying 5 times, so their chances of success is much higher than you. And that's why being pessimistic and lacking confidence does not help. It keeps you shrinking, or it shrinks you over time. Whereas somebody who does not lack confidence, even if they lack skills, they will be able to go much farther, right? Because they're feeling internally safe. They're not scared of failing. They're not scared of being wrong. Overthinkers are very scared of being wrong. They're very scared of failing, when in reality it is a part of the process. If you are not failing, you're not trying new things enough. You should be failing. Every year you should have a list of things you've failed at, because that tells me that you've tried so many things. Otherwise you're not tried anything at all, which means you're not growing, right? Now let's talk about what can you do to stop overthinking. Okay, let me just quickly see if you're fine on the internet front. I think we're fine. Okay. Let's talk about how can you stop overthinking. So I'm going to give you a few very easy to use tools that you can start using right away. The very first thing is a list that I want you to make every single time you're indulging in fearful thinking. It is called the list of fear versus facts. I want you to write down every single sentence that's coming in your head, every single sentence, and I mean everyone. Write down all of it, 10, 15, 20 sentences. And then I want you to go through one by one through each sentence and ask yourself, is this a fact? When I say fact, 100% fact, like I'm sure this is going to happen, versus is this an assumption or a fear? Okay. So for example, let's say you want to apply for a promotion. Okay, you want to talk about, not apply, let's say you want to talk about your promotion to your manager. Okay, and your fear is that, or the sentence in your head is that he is going to say no. Okay, now I want you to ask yourself, is this a fact? Like, am I 100% sure he's going to say no, or is it an assumption? If it is an assumption, then you cross it off. And if it is a fact, those are the only things you consider. And I want you to do it every single time you're indulging in overthinking so that you can separate your illusion from your reality. And your job is to operate from a place of facts. If you don't have facts, you go out there, try it, and collect real data. Right? I always tell my overthinking clients that you and I are only going to talk over real data. If you cannot tell me with 100% surety this is going to happen, then I'm not going to believe you. Go, try it out, come back to me with real data. Not what if, not I think, not what I feel. This is happening. Right? The next is the control versus comprehend list. Right? What do I mean by this? So anytime you find yourself thinking about something, I want you to ask yourself, am I thinking because I'm comprehending this, like I'm understanding it, or am I trying to gain control over it? For example, let's say that you want to do a public speech. Okay, it's something you want to do, and you are thinking, what if I don't sound right? What if the mic is making me sound bad? What if I forget words in the middle? What if this happens? What if that happens? I want you to ask yourself that this line of thinking that I'm into, right? Am I trying to comprehend this problem and come up with actionable solutions, or is this something that I'm just trying to gain control over? Like I want to really control the situation. What am I doing? Because control happens out of fear and comprehension happens out of deep understanding. Next is, I want you to put a time limit to solving a problem, right? Because overthinking is basically you trying to solve something, and I want you to put a time limit to it. That if I've decided that I'm going to solve a problem, I give it this amount of time. Let's say I want to make a decision about the kind of clothes I want to wear to a special event. I will give myself 15 minutes. 15 minutes is when this discussion will be over. Whatever I'm able to find, I will wear it. Start giving yourself time limits that for this decision, this is the only amount of time I'm going to allot to it. This puts a hard stop to your overthinking. The next is, do your inner work. Without one-on-one trauma informed coaching work, this is not going to turn into a permanent solution because the non-safety lives in the body, right? And if you would like to work with me, you can always book a one-on-one coaching session. If you would like to work with somebody else, go do that too. But please work on it. Work on this. It's very important. The last is, ask yourself whenever you're indulging into overthinking, what am I trying to avoid? Whenever you're overthinking, and whatever you're trying to avoid is what you discuss with your coach in your sessions. That this is what I need to work on, because overthinking makes you avoid something. It could be anything, a feeling, a situation, a person, but you need to start asking yourself, what am I trying to avoid? Because whatever you're trying to avoid is what will keep on coming back again and again. The solution to any fear is to move towards it, to look into the eyes so that you can take its power away instead of trying to run away from it. That's it for today. For those who could join live, thank you so much for showing up. And for those who are going to watch this recording, you can always ask me any questions in the comment section, or you can just join my free communities and you can directly DM me. And if you would like to understand what kind of childhood traumas that you are holding on to, go and watch Healing Childhood Trauma Bootcamp. You can just DM me at City, I'll send it to you, or you can find all the free resources on healing your relationship wounds, healing your career blocks, healing your money blocks, healing your relationship with yourself, all of it in the feature section of my profile. Thank you so much for joining. Bye bye.